Hi everyone, welcome back to another Pokemon trading card game. And today we have Brandon with his Virizion Genesect deck on the left, and Karen on the right with a fairy deck. I believe this deck list is very similar, if not identical, to the one that Kyle Sukovich played at the Fort Wayne Regionals a week or two ago. On his day one. He covered that deck very well in the Top Cuts channel, so be sure to check that out. If you want a deck list for Karen's deck, then I can at least say it's extremely similar to the one that he played. So, yeah. I know people ask for deck lists all the time, and I'm not comfortable with giving out deck lists for several reasons. The biggest one of which is most people tend to actually play the same deck over and over. So if it's published what their deck list is and an opponent finds out who they are, then it's very easy for their opponent to actually use that as a way of gaining an advantage in a game, which I am not okay with. So, but in this case, I believe Karen was just playing this deck for fun. Turned out to be a really powerful deck. I myself didn't really get the deck very well. I know how it works, I'm just not very good at playing it myself. That's why I didn't play it at this tournament. I really wanted to, but I decided to stick with the deck that I was actually familiar with instead, and I ended up doing horribly. So we see a mulligan there from Brandon, and then Karen, wonder what she started out with. No, she didn't have any basic Pokemon either, so mulligans on both sides, in which case you just reshuffle and try again. No one gets extra cards at the beginning of the game. So let's see what goes on here. And I apologize for the camera angle. This is another one of those instances where I just put the camera in the place where I thought was pretty close to pointing where it was supposed to. And as you can see, the tripod legs are at the very bottom of the frame. That's very unprofessional looking. Sorry about that, guys. We see another mulligan from Brandon and another one from Karen. So 2 mulligans on both sides. Now normally if someone gets 2 mulligans, their opponent gets an extra 2 prize, not prize cards, an extra 2 cards from their deck at the beginning of their game. But if both players mulligan, then it's completely reset and, well, no one gets one. Then if by the time one person finally gets one, and then say the other person doesn't, then that person can start getting extra cards, beginning with just 1 card per mulligan. So it's very rare to see 2 mulligans from both people, so that's at least a little interesting. Let's see, in this matchup I would probably, I really don't know who to favor. The fairy transfer is extremely powerful, just being able to move energies around, and we do see basic Pokemon from both sides now. And then an extra one on the bench for Karen. And Brandon, it looks like. Sorry, just out of frame. But anyway, fairy transfer is extremely powerful. And Karen plays the Mega Kangaskhan variant of the fairy deck. So the damage output is very unlimited, basically. So we're going to see Brandon started out with a Virizion EX, and it looks like it's a Cubchoo on the bench. Beartic is an extremely good counter against all sorts of things. Landorus, Pyroar, anything weak to water, basically. And it only takes 1 double colorless energy, and then it does 20 times the, or is it plus 20 for each colorless, for each retreat cost, basically. Anyway, so Brandon plays a very fast Juniper there. Puts down Seismitoad EX, Genesect EX. If he could get a Quaking Punch set up right now, then that would shut Karen off from all sorts of item cards. That wouldn't be too bad, honestly, because as long as she gets an Aromatisse up, which you don't need a rare candy for that, you could just play it from hand, then the fairy transfer process can begin. And, well, we'll see what happens. Right now, Brandon played his Colress machine, got a Plasma Energy on that Genesect. He does not have an energy on that Virizion EX. That is extremely... if something tells me if he had one, he would have played it by now. So the fact that he wasn't able to get an energy on that Virizion on his first turn is a very big blow. It's not very good at all. If there's nothing else he could do, he's going to have to pass, and that's a very unfortunate first turn. Well, we do see a plasma energy go onto the and Seismitoad, actually. Very interesting. He probably knows that getting the item lock up very early is probably a not, well, it's definitely not a bad thing. But in Karen's case, her deck doesn't revolve around items like a lot of decks do. It revolves around fairy energy and rainbow energy and just being able to move it all around. Now, there is max potion that she wouldn't be able to use if the item lock was up, but we'll have to see what happens. In this situation, it really could be anyone's game. So Karen used Geomancy there. She's going to attach fairy energies to both of those Spritzy, and it's Brandon's turn. If he has a switch and an energy, he can get the item lock up right now, but I don't see either in his hand. Of course, his hand is a little off frame, so sorry about that. The fact that he hasn't hit a grass energy... Oh, there's the grass energy. Interesting. He's just going to play the grass energy and pass. That's... Karen's top deck was the Aromatisse, and now she has 3 fairy energy on her side that she can move around however she wants. If she gets a Fairy Garden out, then all of her Pokemon have free retreat on top of that. She could just move Pokemon around and deal however much damage she wants. That being said, she doesn't have any attackers right now. She is using Geomancy again, just to get more Fairy energy out there. There's not much else she can do. Getting energy out right now is definitely the best thing to do, because that's how the Fairy deck works, just moving the energy around. In order to do that, you have to have the energy out there. And, well, that looks like that's what she's going to do. And it's Brandon's turn again. And she has those awesome Hollow Fairy energy from the Xerneas and Yveltal battle decks. The deck costs $30, the energies cost $5 each, and it comes with 6 Hollow energies. So buy the deck, and you're basically buying the energies, and everything else that comes with it is free. Anyway, we're going to see a Shadow Triad from Brandon's side to get the Colress back. Definitely very unfortunate that you have to use Shadow Triad to get the Colress. And we see a Shaman EX go onto the bench. And a pass again. Very unfortunate draws from Brandon. Keep in mind, he's also played a Juniper. So he's had a lot of cards in his hand so far, and very few things to actually work with. Karen, on the other hand, just played Juniper there after putting down another Fairy energy. So right now there are 6 Fairy energy on the board. I believe Xerneas has a retreat cost of 2. So even if she needed to manually retreat Xerneas, and there's another Aromatisse, and she just benched the Mewtwo EX. So now she has an attacker, and a very powerful attacker at that. Unless Brandon gets a G-Booster and a Genesect completely powered up. Oh, I guess she has the Fairy Garden already in play because she just retreated that Xerneas for free. It would probably be off camera, so we are going to see the Fairy transfer on the Mewtwo. Right now, its X-Ball is dealing 80 damage. If she were to transfer the other 3 energy, that's another 60 damage. That would be 140, but no, she's just going to settle with 80, and that's probably the best bet. Ooh, she just fused Fairy Transfer again, after she recalled her attack. Well, I'm sure Brandon said it was okay, but in normal gameplay, no, once you call your attack, your turn is over, no questions asked. So just remember that, guys. But I'm sure in this case, she asked Brandon if she could do that, and he said sure. So we're going to see the Colress from Brandon. That should be 7 cards, and if it's 7, that confirms that that's 4. No, that must, wait, 5? Huh. I don't know. He was pulling up multiple cards at a time, and he still is. Unfortunately, there's no way to count how many cards he has. I really wish I had set up the camera better, so sorry about that, guys. I can't tell if he has 4 bench Pokemon or 5, for example. I also can't tell how many prizes either of them has. I know it's 6, because neither of them has taken a prize yet, but It is my fault for not setting up the camera more properly. We are going to see the Emerald Slash at long last, dealing 50 to Mewtwo and putting 2 grass energy on one of his bench Pokemon. Could be the Genesect. Probably going to be the Genesect. And it is the Genesect. And we're going to see a double colorless energy come from Mewtwo. And a Fairy transfer away from the Mewtwo. And right now Mewtwo only has to deal 100 damage. Well, it has to deal 90, but it can only be in multiples of 20. So it has to deal only 100 damage to knock out this Virizion. So if I were Karen, I'd definitely move one more energy off of Mewtwo. We see the Colress. She moves one more Fairy energy away from Mewtwo, then it's dealing exactly 100 damage. No need to overdo it. And that's the whole point of Fairy transfer, is to make sure you're always doing exactly enough while preserving as many energies as possible. So, she's Colressing here. Hopefully we will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I am correct. We have 7 Pokemon in play. 3 on Karen's side, and then the 3 you see on Brandon's side, and then the Cubchoo on his bench, which may or may not be a Beartic by now. Regardless, it has no energy on it, so it's basically pointless at this point. It's catcher bait for Karen, but otherwise it's serving no purpose. We are going to see an Ultra Ball from Karen's side, getting rid of Xerneas and looks like a Fairy Garden. At the very least, it's a Stadium. So the fact that she actually discarded a Fairy Garden, assuming it is Fairy Garden, tells me that yes, Fairy Garden is in play, it's just out of frame. Plus, she retreated her Xerneas earlier for free, so it has to be in play. If it's not, then that was a huge gameplay mistake. Anyway, I wonder what she got. I wish I'd seen. Whatever it was, either she didn't bench it or it's out of frame. And I'm sure it's just out of frame because it's not in her hand, whatever it is. Knowing her deck list, I'd say she either got a Kangaskhan EX or a Xerneas EX. Either of those would be ideal in this situation. But, okay, she got the Xerneas EX, actually. It was out of frame. And she retreats her Mewtwo. And she can use Xerneas' X-Blast here. Or she could use the first attack. Breakthrough, I think. Breakthrough does 60, but X-Blast, she's moving all the energy up. X-Blast does 140. The drawback is you cannot use it again next turn. But it is 148 damage, and this Xerneas EX has 180 HP altogether. No, she's going to Fairy Transfer back, and she's going to use Breakthrough. Oh, and there's a Muscle Band, so she's dealing 80 damage, which is still 10 short of a knockout. Even using Hypnotoxic Laser here wouldn't do anything because of Virizion's ability. We are going to see the Breakthrough for 80 damage, and that Virizion EX is up to 160 damage and only has 10 left, 10 HP left. Now, I'm curious as to why she decided to do that instead of just knocking it out. Because, well, it only has 10 HP left, and she was perfectly capable of knocking it out, so I wonder why she didn't. If she were running Dusknoir, then that would be honestly perfect, because she could have all that damage out there to move around later, but she's not, and honestly Dusknoir in a Fairy deck is just too much space to put in there. Now we do see the Skyla from Brandon's side, probably looking for that G-Booster. He can easily just retreat this Virizion, use G-Booster, and get 2 easy prizes, as well as getting rid of 3 Fairy energy. But he didn't get it. He got the Muscle Band instead. Interesting. It's possible his G-Booster is prized, which would be incredibly unfortunate. We're going to see Muscle Band go on to Virizion. He's definitely going to Emerald Slash here. I wonder what he is going to put the energy on, though. Oh, actually he's taking the Muscle Band back. And he's putting it on the Genesect instead. And he's going to retreat the Virizion. Is he going to Megalo Cannon? Yeah, he's going to send up his Genesect, which means he's probably going to Megalo Cannon here. With the Muscle Band, it does 120 to this Xerneas EX, and then 20 to one of the bench Pokemon. I really don't know who to target here. Oh, we do see the Plasma Energy from Genesect, which means Red Signal is coming. And he is going to Red Signal out the Mewtwo EX and use Megalo Cannon for 120 to knock it out. And do 20 to the Xerneas EX, which was on them. It's a little hard to keep up with what was going on there, but he Red Signaled out the Mewtwo, which already had 50 damage on it, used Megalo Cannon to do 120, which knocked it out, and then put 20 on the Xerneas EX, which was benched. And then Karen decided, well, instead of just putting it on the bench and then putting it back up, why not just leave it up there and put the 20 on? Which is technically okay to do, so long as both players know what's going on. So, anyway, we do see the Colress from Karen there for 7. And that Genesect just took an easy 2 prizes and put 20 on the Xerneas, which makes it all the easier to knock out later. We do see, I believe, another Xerneas EX go on the bench from Karen. And then we see a startling Megaphone. Actually, I don't think I would have done that, because now that Genesect is able to put the G-Booster on. I really don't know. I will say this. There's 3 Plasma Energy on Brandon's side of the field right now, which means, at most, there's 1 more Plasma Energy to put down sometime. So if he expects to use Red Signal later, he's going to have to wait. And well, I don't really know what's going on right now, actually. We saw the Megaphone from Karen, and that was it. She's probably just deciding what to do here. Fairy decks are notoriously slow. They take a lot of thinking and deciding, and your decisions very early game can really affect the late game. Unlike a lot of decks where it's just take your prizes and be done. Now we do see the... We saw... Hold on. I think we saw an X-Blast there for 140. Or did we? Because, I don't know. I'm going to assume we just saw a breakthrough. We're going to see a Lysander. After the energy switch off of Virizion to the Shaman, there was a lot of stuff there that went on. I hope you guys actually caught it all. But he put an energy on the Shaman, energy switched from Virizion to Shaman, then used Lysander to knock out one of the Aromatisse and take another prize. And then put another 20 on the Xerneas EX. So now it only has 140 HP left. Karen, I forget exactly what Breakthrough does. And unfortunately, for once, I don't have my binder close to me to actually check. But I do believe it has something to do with the number of energy on your opponent. I'm not going to look it up right now because I need to actually pay attention to the game. Xerneas EX isn't used that much except in fairy decks, which are really few and far between. So it is my fault for not paying closer attention. Anyway, we saw a... wow. We just saw 2 knockouts there. We saw one on Virizion EX and one on Genesect EX, and Karen just took 4 prizes. We're going to see a Skyla from Brandon's side. I think Breakthrough might also have something to do with your opponent's bench Pokemon, because she had to have put 10 on that Virizion, and she had to have put at least 10 on the Genesect to knock out both of them. So I wonder... we're going to see the Ultra Ball from Brandon. Now his Shaman is powered up, so its Revenge Blast right now is doing 150 damage. 30 times the 30 plus 30 for each prize that your opponent has taken. So since Karen's taken 4 prizes, that's an extra 120 damage on top of the 30. So it's doing 150, which is enough to knock out this Xerneas EX, which would put Brandon down to 1 prize. He used the Ultra Ball to get the Genesect EX, and we see the Revenge Blast for 150, and I finally returned and pointed the camera back up so that we can see the whole field. As you can see, there is a Beartic there. It has 30 on it, and there's the Fairy Garden, and she promoted her Xerneas EX. Now, Brandon got rid of a lot of energy with that Revenge Blast. Now there's only one energy on Karen's side of the field. She could retreat, she could Fairy Transfer up to the Xerneas EX, retreat into the regular Xerneas, Fairy Transfer back up to the regular Xerneas, and then use Geomancy, but then Shaman can just Revenge Blast, knock out that Xerneas, and Brandon wins. So right here, she's going to basically have to manually attach and just use the Xerneas EX as a wall. And hope that Brandon either doesn't have the Plasma Energy or another Lysander. Now, we do see a Mewtwo, a Muscle Band, and a Fairy Energy go down. So, one more energy, and that Mewtwo can knock out that Shaman, I believe. No, it'd be 10 short. Oh, man. 20, 40, 60... 80, 100. Well, next turn, if she gets one more energy out, then the Shaman is knocked out. So, we are going to see the Fairy Transfer, retreat to Mewtwo, and Fairy Transfer back up to Mewtwo. We're going to see X-Ball for 100. So, it's very unfortunate that she's just 10 damage short of winning this game. Shaman gives her 2 prizes, and she has 2 prizes left, so that would have been the game there if she had just been able to do 10 more damage. We see the Jirachi EX from Brandon's side. If he can get a Shadow Triad or a Lysander, he wins, because he could bring up the Aromatisse and Revenge Blast for knockout. I wonder what he's going to get. And by Shadow Triad, I mean he can use Shadow Triad to get a Plasma Energy, which Shadow Triad puts 1 plasma card from your discard pile into your hand. Oh, he went with the Juniper. I guess he doesn't have either. He could get the Plasma Energy from his discard pile into his hand, then attach it from hand to the Genesect, which activates Red Signal, which would bring up the Aromatisse. But the fact that he went for Juniper tells me he had the G-Booster in hand. I probably would have played that on the Genesect before discarding it, but it's so late in the game it doesn't matter. 1 G-Booster is not gonna... He would need to have the Genesect powered up at any rate, and he doesn't. The only energy on the field is this Shaman. We see the Muscle Band. Oh, Revenge Blast for 170. Exactly enough. And that's the game, folks. What a great game between Brandon and Karen, and this shows how powerful both of these decks are. Hope you enjoyed. I hope to have more TCG videos up soon and pre-release this Sunday.